other On Cinema podcast, the podcast in which myself, Ramsey, an On Cinema superfan, is recording some filler content. Yeah, sorry guys, we don't have a regular episode this week. Caleb and I got behind on our recording schedule. And I mean, to be honest, we're both very busy people. I travel a lot for my job and Caleb's very busy with his band. So this is just going to happen from time to time. And then also Caleb mentioned last episode, but he's going to be having some pretty serious surgery coming up. So while he's recovering, we're most likely going to go on a break. But in that time, I'm working on some more long form pre-written content that I'm hoping I might have done by then. We'll see. In the meantime, I thought I would try out recording some goof about episodes like this. So today I am going to be ranking all of the On Cinema seasons from S to F tier, internet tier list style. And, you know, to be honest, I was a little on the fence on whether or not I should put this on the podcast channel because, believe it or not, I do take the podcast somewhat seriously, and I didn't know if I wanted to inundate the podcast with what is essentially YouTube content slop. But, you know, I thought it would be fun. And also, I've mentioned this before, there is something inherently limiting about the format of the podcast in that I can't talk about future context from other seasons to Caleb, so I don't, give him any spoilers. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to just kind of do a broad overview of the entire series and give some quick opinions on, each phase of it. So without further ado, let's get it going. Oh, and I should say, if your name is Caleb and you are a co-host of this podcast, you're not allowed to watch this video because it is going to have spoilers. I should also say I am recording a video version of this, which we're going to have up on our YouTube channel. And yes, we do have a YouTube channel. Currently, it's just audio of the podcasts. Nobody really listens to the podcast audio on YouTube anyway, but I'm eventually going to put more videos up on there. So if you want to see my face yapping about this, as well as the actual tier list grid or whatever, you can check it out on our YouTube channel, which you can just search the other On Cinema podcast on YouTube. So let's get it going. All right. So I should say how I'm going to grade this is I'm going to rank each season by the season just by itself. So no context from outside materials like the Oscar specials or Decker or the Wendy Kirby Valentine special. So there may be some kind of odd rankings because of that, but I thought it would just be more interesting this way. Also, I'm grading everything on a curve here, so there's going to be some rankings I would say are a little more harsh than I would usually put them, but that's because if I was being completely fair, there'd be a lot of stuff that was just in C tier. All right, so let's get it going. All right, season 1. Yeah, I'm going to have to put that in F tier. Again, not because it's bad, but I mean, it's definitely the weakest out of all of the seasons. I mean, even outside of context, I mean, it is funny. There's just not a whole lot going on with it. But yeah, so season 2, also going to have to put that in F tier. But again, I'm going to put it above season 1. There we go. Yeah, I mean, it starts to get a little bit more interesting, but there's not a whole lot going on with it. And that's all I really have to say about season 2. All right, season 3. Yeah, we'll put this in D tier. We start to get Tim's health problems more permanently on display here. Also, my favorite review, Smurfs 2, is in this season. Other than that, still there's not a ton going on in season 3. Moving on to season 4. I mean, yeah, season 4 firmly in C tier. I mean, we get Dr. Sand in this one, so that's pretty good. But yeah, so season 5, again, I'm going to put this in C tier. It's starting to get funnier. We get Tim's motorcycle phase, his awful injury he gets tripping over his own bike. I think, we get the clips of Decker actually in the show, and so that's really great. Okay, so season 6, I was originally going to put this in A tier because all of the stuff going on with Decker Port of Call Hawaii is really funny, and how they integrate it into the show is really great. I think this is when the show really starts to kind of get going. However, there's not actually a whole lot in the episodes themselves going on. They mostly just kind of talk about what's happening on Decker. So because of that, with how I'm grading it, we're going to throw this down in C tier. All right. Season 7, obviously S. Obviously S. I've already said this is my favorite season, but this is, the start of, I guess what you would call modern on cinema. And even without the outside stuff going on with like Decker versus Dracula and the 4th Oscar special, the season is just really, really funny. Every episode, I think there's something really, really funny going on. You've got the Ant-Man versus the Fantastic Four debates. You've got Dakar. You got Axiom. And then, of course, there's the Tom Cruise Jr. Memorial Special, which is, a real high point for the series for sure. Moving on to season 8, again, gonna put this one in S tier. I mean, yeah, this season's very, very funny. We've got the change of locale, moving to Victorville. I mean, I still can't get over the nutritional vape system. Every time it's introduced, I can't stop laughing at it. And, of course, we get all the scenes of, Tim maniacally sucking on the vape. It's really, really funny. Of course, the ending when he basically burns himself alive. Can't get funnier than that. And then season 9, again, gonna have to put this one into S tier. I mean, this is just such a strong run of seasons here. Every season we get a different locale. I really like the Six Bag Cinema stuff. Just the humor of Mark serving the dishes. And then, of course, the whole reality show concept of the Dakar boys volunteering to give up their ass skin to put on Tim's face is all really good. And then, of course, we get the ending of the Electric Sun Music Festival, which really kicks off a new phase for On Cinema. So for that alone, it goes into S tier. Season 10, I know this is a fan favorite for a lot of people. I do think it's really good, but I am going to put it in A tier. I mean, obviously, you got the introduction of Rio Genesis. You got the new set. I mean, all of the stuff with Greg taking over the show and Tim just kind of losing it is really, really funny. Only reason I'm putting it in A tier is I guess in comparison to the last 3 seasons, it feels just a little bit weaker for me, at least, but still very, very good. Really like season 10. Season 11. Now, I've got kind of complicated feelings about season 11. I actually stopped watching On Cinema for a couple of years after I watched season 11 because at the time, I wasn't really into it. From season 7 through 10, we get kind of a new bit every season. There's a change of locale. And then coming off of the trial and everything, with them going back to the old studio, it sort of felt like they were retreading ground. And honestly, the businessman Tim has never really been my favorite Tim persona. But looking back, now I see that they were kind of refocusing what they were going to do going forward. It's hard for me to hate on it too much now, but I mean, I'm going to have to put it in like strong C tier. There is some really funny stuff like, Empty Bottle 3.0. We've got Michael Matthews showing up on the show, which is really good. But again, it just kind of felt like they were retreading old ground on this season. So because of that, it's going into C's here. All right, season 12. Yeah, season 12 is really, really strong. I'm almost want to put this in S tier, but I think it's going to be strong A tier, actually. Yeah, this is a really good season just by itself. I mean, there's a lot of really funny bits, with Greg starting deck of cards in everything and, Mark's involvement in the show this season. But this is when the show really starts to show up with the more dramatic chops. The monologue from Tony at the end is really amazing. It's very devastating, but it's also fucking hilarious because we get shots of Mark dressed up as a fucking munchkin right next to her while she's giving this really dramatic speech. It's really genius, I think. The only reason I'm not putting in an S tier is I think overall, there's some slower, kind of duller moments in the season, but a lot of really strong stuff in this season. Of course, D4, that's hilarious. But yeah, strong A tier for sure. Season 13, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of season 13. I'm putting it in B tier. I do think the ending of it is really strong with the Christmas special, Tim basically killing himself on air. But I think this one's kind of slow. I don't really like the setting, even though, we get the Amato plot line, which I like a lot, introduced in this season. And also, the grain water stuff, like, it is objectively funny, but god damn it, it grosses me out. In a way that I don't even necessarily find funny. But yeah, season 13, it's going in B tier for sure. All right, season 14. Yeah, season 14 again. I'm putting this strong A tier. It's really funny. I like them going back to the, podcast format, but a modern podcast, and the fact that they just blatantly recreated what's his name, Patrick Bet Davidson's podcast set that alone is really, really funny to me. And then we get Joey Patron. I really like Joey. I mean, as we know, he turns into a really strong character in the show, but his interactions with Greg in this season are just so funny. I mean, him trying to have patience with Greg is really funny. I appreciate that they bring in Joey, who is obviously like a trained actor, but he's able to come across as like a real person, being very befuddled by Tim and Greg, but not in kind of a cartoonish way, where sometimes we see that with outside characters that they bring in. And then, of course, we get the murder mystery plot line with Matt Newman in this one, which is very interesting. A lot of good stuff in this season for sure. Season 15, I'm going to put this again in strong C tier. I really appreciate what season 15 is doing. I think the change of setting is really interesting. They were obviously taking a big creative swing. I also think this Oscar special is particularly strong. I know not everyone loves this Oscar special, but it's one of my favorite ones. But again, we're not talking about Oscar specials. But episode to episode, like, there's some really strong moments in season 15 for sure. Like the Wendy Kirby Valentine's Day reunion's pretty funny. I mean, all the stuff with Mark being like their handyman, and, Mark handling the money exchange between the erotic massage is all really funny. But again, I don't know, just there's some pretty boring episodes as well in season 15. So I'm going to put that in strong C. Moving on to last season, the latest season, season 16. I'm going to put this in strong B tier. This one's interesting because I feel like they really pulled back the scope a bit on this one. That being said, there's a lot of really funny stuff in this season. I mean, Mark's appearance doing his Three Stooges doll performance is really, really funny. But that being said, it does at moments again feels like they're retreading a little bit at the beginning of it, going back to the Rio Genesis stuff and all of that. But I mean, once they switch to the old folks home setting, I do think the season gets a lot stronger. Again, if I was including the Giamotto Memorial, I would probably rank this a little bit higher. It is kind of technically listed as an episode within the season, but of course, I mean, it's presented more as a special, so I'm not going to include that there. But yeah, pretty strong B. But yeah, there we have it. That's my ranking on all the seasons. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Hopefully we will be back with a regular episode. Again, sorry guys, we don't have that, but thanks for listening and I hope you enjoyed.